Hello, family, friends, esteemed colleagues. Since more people are following the protocol, again, the standard question comes. Darko, when can I cheat a little bit and not to disturb this system? Well, the protocol teaches you that hydration with the plasma is what is crucial to eliminate toxins from the blood and from the cells once when blood is clean. And the perfect food and the only food we should have is based on animal products, and we can have some fruits. And we can purge when we need to our digestive tract with salads, greenery, raw. Now, we are accustomed to eat cooked food, cooked vegetables, even boiled cooked fruits, baked fruits, and cooked, baked meats and processed meats. None of it is really healthy, but different problems we get when we are eating vegetables, and different problems we get when we are eating animal-based products, proteins, fats. Eating animal products only makes the digestion more difficult and less fulfilling, because you do destroy enzymes, you do destroy vitamins, and you coagulate the protein and becomes non-digestible. It has to then be exposed to bacteria in the intestines, gut flora, to break it down. And this may take a long time, and we call it putrefying. So you stink, you go to bathrooms, you stink. This toxicity always have bad, foul odor. So what gets absorbed into the blood, and you stink through your skin, especially where you sweat more, like armpits, like crotch, sometimes around the neck, around the hair. So this, presents some problem, but not nearly as much as do cooked vegetables. When you are cooking vegetables, two things are happening. Some of the natural defensive proteins break down. So actually something that would be toxic if you eat it raw now becomes palatable. You can eat it without having toxic effect. This goes especially for fruits. If you eat green unripe banana raw, you get bad digestive problems, and you have symptoms similar to leukemia if you continue with this. Why? Because it's toxic. This is where things, what we call diseases, come from. It's not a disease. It's just body's adjustment to this crap the best it can, but to certain things it just cannot adjust properly. Or would take long time, and at the same time it falls out of adjustment with the stuff that it should be adjusted to. And some other things, so when you cook it, you break down these proteins and you can eat it like a potato. This is what is main source of calories here in jungle of Amazonia. boiled green bananas instead of potatoes. If you go here in Peru, if you go a little higher towards the Andes, it's more potato. And in between is another root vegetable, yuca, also like a potato. And if you would eat it raw, it would poison you. But when cooked, heated up, baked, cooked, it's okay. So, this is beneficial thing to heat it up. But on the other side, you break cellulose, and since glucose is the main energetic source for plants, and what we love to eat most, the carbohydrates, are the accumulations. It is like eating fat on the animal. This is when you eat carbohydrate. You are eating the food source for a plant. And it is in cellulose, so if it's raw, it doesn't affect you. Eat raw banana, no problem. If it's ripe. When fruit ripens, the toxic proteins are replaced with fructose. And you can eat them. This is plant tells you, okay, now my seeds are ready, go and distribute them. This is all. If the seeds are not ready, the fruit is not going to be edible. It will be toxic. Yes, you can eat it. Here also mango, green mango with lemon, they love it. But everybody gets sick from it. Changes parameters in the blood. So if they would cook it, this would not happen. But then again, a lot of sugar comes in. So in this case, fructose, more than glucose, but if your absorption is high, then fructose will do also damage. Not nearly as much as glucose, which we are calling the safe carbohydrate. So why not? Because fructose body cannot use to make energy. So the only thing that can do with it is convert it into fat. And whenever liver is converting sugars into fat, the side product is uric acid. So more fructose you get, more uric acid you produce. But same is with glucose. Safe carbohydrate. No? Same thing happens. And we usually have plates of it. So basically, when people ask, okay, Darko, what about cake? What about wine? I would like to have some wine occasionally, or I would love to have pizza occasionally. Well, you have to understand that there are two different poisons in plants. One is acting immediately and basically is polluting your blood, which is not a big deal. If you drink enough plasma, you wash it out within 6 hours. But while these toxins are in your blood, they are preventing cellular hydration because cells will not want to accept them. So no hydration. Other than just the passive hydration, which also is poisoning the cells if those toxins are there. But superficially, it's not a big deal. Now, well, it's not a big deal unless you are doing it frequently, and then the cells start producing heat protein too much, and they start requesting cholesterol because they say, well, this makes no sense, this is poisoning me, and they want to reinforce, make the membranes more dense so this poison doesn't come in. At the same time, they don't expel toxicity. Denser the membrane, the less toxicity passively will be taken out because less water be entering to take out the toxicity. So there are many ways how toxic elements affect the body. And then because of this, you have different symptoms. But when we come to carbohydrate, which is the main question, because what about birthday cake? What about ice cream? What about Christmas cookies? It's all carb, 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 carb. Well, body does not act on carbs immediately. It's a prolonged process. If carbs, glucose, could all of a sudden penetrate from your intestine into the blood in the full amount that you eat it, and you eat it for the first time, you were, let's say, baby was on mother's milk, so was not receiving glucose, basically fats and proteins, and now you decide to give it little mashed potatoes, boiled mashed potato. And if the baby's intestine would be able now immediately take all this starch, all this glucose in, the baby would die. Because the overproduction, the amount of insulin that will be shot in, and the saturation, and a lot of mitochondria are active, and now all the mitochondria will produce rapid energy, it will go to burnout. Baby would die. This is why sugar cannot be absorbed, if in any way and form, cannot be absorbed without transporter from intestines into the blood. It needs transporting mechanism because you are not putting insulin in your food to relax the membranes of your intestines, so you can do this. So it goes, the absorption is limited. And originally it's very small. It's geared to little carbs from fruits, fructose, to come in. Because it is not so we can absorb the fructose, but it is because our cells, when they need sugar, they send GLUT, protein transporter for sugars, to grab a molecule of sugar and bring it into the cell so the cell can go and produce amino acids. No insulin needed. And because of this, all cells have it and they take it from the intestines, but only as much as GLUT you have. But more glucose you eat, you start producing insulin. When you produce insulin, the body is perfect robot. So it knows, aha, more glucose, I need more transporters. So increases production of transporters. And so it doesn't need insulin to suck in the sugar into the cell, but at the same time increases absorption from the intestines. So from one bite of bread, at the beginning you get minuscule amount of glucose, no changes. But then little by little, every day little bite of bread, and you get more and more glucose coming in until it comes to the level that now more glucose was put in than cells will take from blood because they don't need it. They don't send transporter, but now sugar grows above the radar. Now you are oversaturating blood, so you are putting yourself like in a stress situation. Robot is again machine, and you hit the sensor, sugar, insulin, and body produces insulin, pumps it in blood, so the insulin can be absorbed into your cells. Insulin is toxic, irritative for cells. So I explain all this, so I don't want to go back there, but just to refresh your memory. And repetition, repetition, repetition. So the main thing is that if you want, and just to quickly mention what happens when you start introducing glucose in, you are changing the combustibility. So cells have to adjust themselves. Like the engine would have to adjust timing if you put lower explosivity fuel in there, lower octane. If you want the engine that is running on high octane to work decent on low octane, you have to change the timing. You have to change the time when a spark comes in relation to the position of the piston. The body doesn't need to go to doctor to adjust anything because we have genetic system that adjusts it. So genes exposed to a higher level of glucose, they immediately signal the cell. Okay, cell starts cutting down number of mitochondria, so you have less mitochondria, and now you cannot produce enough energy from the fat, so you are becoming dependable on the fuel that you don't store in your body. So you have to eat more frequently, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a day. The more carbs you eat, the more frequently you have to eat. And eating a lot in one time, thinking that now you won't have to eat more often, does actually the opposite. Because more sugar comes, your cells can only use certain amount, which is maybe a handful like this of rice, for example. This is why in Japan they'll have decently long life while eating rice. Why? They eat small amount of rice, then some stir-fried veggies, and then fish or some kind of a meat with it. Well, we load up, and little bit you can use, the rest you cannot store glucose, so liver has to convert it into fat, higher absorption, too much glucose, liver has not even chance timely to distribute it, so it becomes fatty and all kinds of problems. But what is important that you don't have less and less active mitochondria, which your body is becoming more and more dependable now on this source of nutrition that it doesn't store, and very important for the brain because brain is malnourished most of the time. And you have a foggy brain, you cannot concentrate, bipolarity comes in, you eat, you feel great, and then all of a sudden you become cranky and explosive. And all kinds of sleeping problems, sleep apnea. All this is glucose, glucose, glucose. Now, not only this part, but your immune system stops functioning. Because white blood cells are not immune system. They are garbage disposal system. But if things in the body are not marked for disposal, it just doesn't do the job. And this is why we have tumors growing, and this is why we have cysts permanently building up. This is why we have bacteria and fungus living in the body and all kinds of stuff that should be marked and taken apart by white blood cells. It's not marked. Why? Because now when you use glucose, the cells are not geared for it, so now genes have to give a new instruction to the cell to produce nagalase. They have to hydrolyze the glucose before it goes into Krebs cycle, so they start making the glycosid hydrolase, which we have named nagalase just to already confuse doctors. They don't think anyway, because if they would think a little bit, they would not do this shit what they're doing. So they're just repeating and following what they are being told. Pure robots. So now the cell is forced to produce nagalase, but unfortunately the same genes that are stimulating, giving the blueprint for nagalase, in different vibration, when there is no glucose present, when we are running on triglyceride, on fat, then the same pair of genes, which is we call NAGA genes, are giving a blueprint for the cell to produce GC-MAF, MAF, which is immunomarker, protein marker that marks whatever should be destroyed in a body, whatever has low frequency, low voltage. no frequency, low voltage. It just sticks to it, and now the white blood cell sees it and goes, oh, okay, pew, pew. This is what we have to bag and take out. But we stop producing it. The more glucose you eat, the less of it you produce, and finally you stop producing it, and this is why you have little cut, and unless you put antibiotic, you can go into sepsis and die. And in a wild, animals can lose half a leg and walk in the mud and never have any infection and never have any problem with it. It heals and no problem. Now we say they produce antibiotic. Antibiotic is a garbage, it's poison. Doesn't do what we think it does. But again, all this you can read in different videos. Now the thing is, question, Darko, I feel great, and now can I eat a little bit, you know, occasionally? And how often can I stray away from this diet? Now, depending on what kind of a diet you are talking, but usually it is a carbohydrate. It's a timely effect. So, it takes time to put the gene expression and the working of the cell back to this original setting. And the only way we can achieve it with complete absence of glucose in our diet. So no cooked vegetables, no cooked fruits. Veggies, if you want, you can only have like a salads. Fruits you can have. But if you have fruits, you have a stimulant coming for sugar. And you should be without it if you want to rapidly drop down the level of GLUT protein, because this is it. Why do we have elevated blood sugar? Because we have a lot of GLUT that brings the sugar up, and every time we eat, sugar jumps. If you have low GLUT, sugar doesn't jump because you have small absorption. So, to lower the absorption, you have to create ambient that will shift genetic expression the other way. So stop bringing this frequency in your body. And it means zero, even fructose. Stop fruit, stop everything. Just stick to your animal products. And within 3 weeks, usually, the cells will shift. But since long time, they have been under influence, and there is a cellular memory of the glucose. If after 3 weeks, you have now some pizza, okay, absorption is low, so little will come in, but the cells immediately start producing more GLUT. Because memory, oh, again this crap is coming in. So, if you have it once, not big harm is being done. But it's still too early, because memory is fresh, body reacts rapidly for this increase of GLUT. So you should wait at least 3-4 months to stabilize low GLUT. And then you can have as many fruits as you want, because fructose does not increase the GLUT reserves, because the body does not want it, doesn't need it, cannot use it. But it will absorb some of it because it has GLUT. It's necessary for proper functioning of the cells. But you are not going to be increasing it. It doesn't matter how much fruits will you have or how much honey you have. It will not happen. But if you start doing it day after day, quickly memory goes back. Again, we are getting there, and body starts shooting up more and more GLUT. Not as slow as first time, much faster, because of cellular memory. But still, it's not such a terrible thing. So if you have been, let's say, 4 or 5 months completely glucose free, and now it's a party and you have a cake, and you're having one slice or having a whole cake will bring you exactly the same amount of sugar in the blood, because you can only absorb amount to fill the amount of transporters, no more. So you can have 5 cakes if you want, but what will happen? No problem with health, but all this sugar comes into your colon, and then before evacuation it ferments, and longer it ferments, more alcohol produces, and actually inflames your colon. Colon cannot absorb liquids in that case, and you get diarrhea, and like a bomb, your body rejects all this stuff. So if you are on correct diet for some time, and now there is a celebration, you don't have to limit yourself to anything. If you decide that you want to have cake, well, don't limit yourself to 1 slice or half a slice. No, I cannot have more. I'm trying to be healthy. Makes no difference if you have 1 slice or a whole cake or 10 cakes. The only difference will be digestion. Okay? It's going to be painful. The more you eat, more painful digestion. You produce more gas, you have more inflammation, more diarrhea. But as far as a general health, blood and stuff like this, or turning now genetic expression, not going to happen. Same like when weather shifts and your body goes into defense mechanism. Why? Because it gets surprised. When we get surprised, we go like this. This is how we protect ourselves. We squeeze. And that's where more toxicity comes from the cell into the blood and goes through detox, which we call flu. But as you are staying now in this type of frequency that surprised your body, your genes act to it and adjust the body, and now this shifting energy doesn't help you. So comes fall, and all of a sudden cold air shoots down and maybe a little bit of rain, and you go, bow, flu everywhere. And it continues to be cold, and even colder, and rainy and humid, but your body cleanses the stuff that came from the cells. It genetically adjusts to these new circumstances, and you are fine until next new shift happens, which is usually in the spring. With the food, it's the same thing. You put your body in a shock when you suddenly change the diet and you put stuff that should not be there. Okay, so it cringes a little bit, but more on the digestive problem. But you are not shifting genetically. It needs prolonged situation. So after the party, you have leftover cakes. You don't want to throw them out because you are salivating having more. So have it. You can have it 2 days, 3 days, and then stop. And give yourself chance again for a period of time, because after second day, you already start increasing glut. So absorption will go up. So stop. As far as other toxins go, which are mostly related to grain, because grain is a seed with protective proteins, this is immediate poisoning of the blood, but those toxins are not very strong. So you don't really, except little bad digestion, little gas and stuff, give you colics because of gas formation, because of these toxins. So you will have more of it, because body is now completely differently tuned. And you eat bad stuff, yeah, you have pain. but little bit comes into the blood. No big deal. And what comes into the blood prevents cellular hydration. So it's immediate stuff. If you are well hydrated, your body takes it out within 8 hours and you are fine. You will continue with hydration. So if you have one coffee, it will increase right away your heart rate. Right away, because you are now running properly, and any nerve stimulant like caffeine is going to make a havoc, because your cells are absorbing fast and they need time to stop this absorption, and caffeine comes into the cell and brain reacts. So you will have much stronger reaction from one coffee. It may scare you because you actually feel tachycardia. The body wants it out, creates diuretic effect and speeds up blood circulation to get it out. But we think, no, this is this and that and that, and this hormone came and that hormone. Yeah, it came as a reaction of the body. It's a self-adjusting computer, a computed robot. So everything adjusts to self-heal. But we have tachycardia, pill for this. We have diarrhea, pill for this. We have nausea, pill for this. Well, we work against our self-healing system. So, as you can see, best is not to go that way. Well, I'm talking, but I'm doing the same crap. I love chocolates, and I'm going to have chocolate at least once a week. But then, takes it 1 day or two to get it out of the system, and then I hydrate the rest of the time. And body can handle it. But even that is too often. I should really have it maybe once a month. And then when you have something bad like this, then pile up more bad stuff at the same day. So when you have a party, whatever, well, don't think, okay, I'm just going to have a little bit of this. You're already poisoned now. So you want a little cake, so have also a little bit of wine. Have a little bit of potatoes. Have a little bit of that and that, because enjoy yourself, because you're already poisoning yourself. Doesn't matter now how much, matters only that you will feel actually worse afterwards. But as far as health goes, remember, feeling nausea or diarrhea, this is not sickness. This is cleansing. That is uncomfortable. So, but it's not disease. Disease is when you change parameters in your body. Body starts working differently to accommodate now this. Well, now you are diseased because you are working with a toxic body. So try to cheat not on regular basis, and if you do it, then don't feel bad about it, because then you are actually lowering your voltage and making things worse. Enjoy it, celebrate it, bless it before you do it. So it will camouflage some of the toxic energies. It will be less toxic for you and easier to digest. Always use your power of the mind, focus, manifestation. It's all manifestation. So if you decide to do something that you know is no good, don't take it as evil. Enjoy it, bless it, enjoy it. But don't do it for prolonged time. 1 day, 2 days, 3 max, and then at least a month. Keep away from it. Thank you for listening. Till next time. Love you all.